guys, Cam from IGN Australia here, joined by Lucy O'Brien.
Hey everybody.
Thought we'd have a little chat today about Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yep.
Because Lucy's a huge Metal Gear fan, also a big fan of Platinum games too.
Yes.
So this is like two worlds colliding for you.
Yeah.
And I, a little bit neither here nor there with Metal Gear, but I love a stylish action game a la Bayonetta and other Platinum titles. So I've kind of played 2 or 3 hours of the game now, whereas you've dipped in a little.
And I sucked. Listen, what happened is I kind of was thrown into the deep end a little bit, and I played about 20 minutes. The PR guy was like, maybe you should play on easy, and I was like, sexist. But actually, he wasn't being sexist. It was that there was no there was no kind of leading tutorial, and it was this sort of advanced part of the game. It's not actually,
like on normal difficulty, it's not actually that hard, but there are a lot of mechanics to get your head around, and jumping into this is not as simple as jumping into another game. I mean, you can kind of mash quite successfully, but one of the kind of keys with Revengeance is keeping, because you've got this sword power, this blade mode called Xander Tzu, which basically lets you kind of slow down time and slice the crap out of enemies and stuff in the environment and whatever. But you've got to have kind of energy to do that, and then you've got your health meter as well. So if you're taking a lot of punishment in battle, you need to pay attention to this ability to absorb the Nano Repair sack.
Well done.
That sits in the kind of the spine of your enemies, right?
Yeah.
So you basically do a bit of damage to them, and then you slow down time, and you have to kind of cut this region and then pull that out and squeeze it in your hand. Well, you cut an enemy in half, say.
Right. Yeah.
And then that gives you access. You can pull it out and regain your health that way. So that's kind of like a really crucial part to ensuring that you're always topped up with health. It's quite difficult if you don't kind of know about that mechanic. But the other thing I was going to say is that you can also kind of have Nano Repair kind of kits in reserve.
Right.
And so you can kind of assign that, and that means that even when you lose all your health, that just kicks in and gives you another full bar of health. So this is the thing, is I think this is going to be a game to play on hard, to be honest, where you really need to, you can't kind of mash your way through it, because as it stands, you've got quite a few kind of safety nets to ensure that you can just kind of keep going. I mean, and yeah, honestly, you can kind of, you've got kind of light attacks, heavy attacks, and the combo system is quite kind of timing based.
Yeah.
So a lot of the longer combos, you can't just kind of mash it. You kind of got to, time your inputs, but you can get through most battles just, wailing away.
Yeah, so in that sense, it's kind of like Bayonetta, I suppose, where...
Yeah, there's a lot of depth to the combat if you want to use it, but I do feel that Bayonetta forced you to use it a little bit more than this does. The other thing that you may have had trouble with actually is the parry system, because again, that's not something that's necessarily self-evident when you first start playing. And so what you'll see is when an enemy's about to launch into attack, or one of those gecko units is about to kick the crap out of you.
Because these things are huge.
Yeah.
They're massive.
And so its leg flashes orange just before it hits you. And if you don't know that's a key, you just keep getting knocked back. You come in, try and attack it, it just kicks you back.
That's what happened to me.
Lose a whole lot of health. But as soon as you know that that's a signpost to parry, then you press forward and hit the light attack button, and you parry it, knock it back, and then you can go in and do more damage. So it's a game where you really have to be looking at what your enemies are doing, because you're constantly parrying their attacks and creating openings for yourself.
Right.
And as you'd expect from a Kojima Productions / Platinum product, it's just crazy stylish, really, really cool. I mean, aside from the floral, flowing, beautiful, standard combat, you've got all these like really nice vignettes, whether they're set pieces within boss battles or cutscenes or whatever, that just make you feel like a total badass. Like, the start of the second mission has Raiden kind of being flown in this little jet, and he actually gets rocketed out of the jet. He's flying like, a few feet above the ocean, comes in, into land, arcs up in the air, and just lands down, hits the ground.
With a suitable,
in a puddle, water just arcs up around him. He's standing there in this kind of hero pose. It's very, very cool. He's running along walls. He's kind of skidding around corners. He's like, you'll have a volley of missiles fired at you, and you run up the missiles to get to the enemy. This is a game where, you face off against an enormous mech, and instead of being shit scared, you run at it.
Yeah.
But when you're doing the ninja run, you're also kind of automatically deflecting fire. So that sequence that I was thinking about before with the facing off against a giant mech and you run at it, it's firing machine gun bullets, it's firing a chain gun or whatever at you, and you're running at it and just deflecting the bullets.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And the ninja run also kind of leads nicely into combat. So you'll see an enemy, you'll run at them, and then you'll hit a button to do a sliding kick in, which knocks them up into the air, kind of over your head, and you turn and just start hacking at them. So you've kind of got the upper hand right from the outset because, you're this ultra, souped up cyborg ninja guy. So you've kind of got the upper hand.
So in the sense, like, I feel that Revengeance is extremely OTT, right?
Yep.
The Metal Gear series to me has always been kind of OTT, but in a kind of emotional way. Like, the story has always been quite heightened and
Right.
melodramatic.
Right.
And would you say that the story in this game is similar? Does it have like similar sort of heightened war as hell kind of sensibilities?
It's got similar themes in looking at war from a kind of philosophical standpoint, and it's all about the private military companies. I mean, Raiden works for like a PMC, but it's like working towards kind of peace essentially. So I don't know how they make their money, whatever.
Don't think too deeply about it. Don't think too deeply about it.
But essentially, like all the other kind of interests in the game, it's all about kind of power, and one of your main kind of foes is this arms supplier called Desperado, and they're solely interested in perpetuating war across the globe because that is good for business.
Right.
So they're in with all these other PMCs, and it's just all about power, and it's actually a very mature kind of storyline. There's some really dark stuff in here. I mean, sure, you've got Raiden kind of, philosophizing about, he kind of sees himself as like a cyborg knight out to punish the bad and protect the good. But, like he is a very dark world. I mean, this is a game where there's trafficking of kids and they're harvesting their organs for use in a cyborg army, and so it's kind of, it's cool. And then you have that extra layer of story if you want it, through the codec.
Yeah,
so
right.
that's back, so you can kind of call up each member of your support team and have a bit of a chat. And yeah, they might.
Does it have that classic codec sound?
There's a yes.
Right.
There's a little of the kind of like talking about like movie references and stuff, but it's generally pretty kind of on topic about what's just happened in the story and kind of what it means and who the players are and that kind of stuff.
So movie references, I mean, that interests me because Kojima is traditionally, obviously this isn't a Kojima directed game, but he's traditionally always been a big pop culture guy. So what kind of like references are we talking about?
Actually, it's funny you should say that because, and this is hilarious, there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 reference.
Secret of the Ooze.
reference in this game. And it's not even just that, it's a Vanilla Ice reference. Because you're in, I think, Mexico, and you come across this
I know what
this
you're going to
kid,
say.
And he sees you fight, and he's like, wow, a ninja, cowabunga. And then he says, go ninja, go ninja, go.
Go ninja, go, 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 go.
Yeah, so there's a few little kind of references in there, despite the kind of somewhat dark subject matter. I mean, there's still humorous kind of touches, like Raiden disguising himself on the streets of Mexico in a sombrero and poncho, and it's just so clear that he's like this cyborg. And he's got like
But he's wearing a sombrero,
he's got
like clearly he's going to fit right in.
He's got a cyborg dog with him as well, and the dog's not wearing any kind of sombrero.
The dog is just not really spoken for, it's just ignored. Okay, right, well, I'm also interested in sort of how big this game is, because you've played a fair whack of it now.
Mm-hmm.
How big is it in scope? Like, where does it take you? Where do you go? Sort of, how grand are we talking?
In the first couple of hours, you face off against this French woman who, like, in the game.
Not a French woman.
Oh my god. In the game, there's these little enemies that are kind of like this black sphere with like 3 legs, and they kind of like waddle along and then flip around and stuff. And there's this boss that you battle who's got this pack on her back with all these kind of slots in it, and she's just like pulling their arms off and kind of slotting them into her back. So she's kind of this multi-armed kind of goddess, essentially. And you know, the giant mechs and choppers and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, like I love the boss design in this game, and I can't kind of wait to see where else they take it.
Platinum have always been good at making you feel good. Like, I mean, you look at Bayonetta, you look at Vanquish, they're kind of games that make you feel godlike, and I take it that this is similar.
So yeah, I mean, Revengeance, I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Yep.
I think you'll really enjoy it too. It's not really a game for the hardcore Metal Gear aficionados. I mean, there's common themes and certainly design elements that I think they'll really enjoy, but it's, you know, this is a game for kind of action fans. Although, I will say that it's not all just balls out action. There are kind of stealthy elements to it. You might kind of come into an area and there'll be guys on you know, raised walkways with bazookas, and so it obviously makes sense to sneak up behind them, you know, run them through, take them out nice and quiet before the melee kind of commences. And there are cardboard boxes too. So there are a couple of sequences that I've played so far where, you know, you're basically waiting for guards to walk by while you're sitting in a box.
Classic Metal Gear.
Sack and box. They're the two kind of guiding principles of this game as far as I'm concerned. Nice.
Why wouldn't you play this game? Why wouldn't you? Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.